And, you know, if people Google Ruby Dalla, I'm resigning as critic to clear my name because you were accused of, you know, mistreating nannies and not paying them enough.
Welcome back to Moose on the Loose. Today we've got Francois Philippe Champagne, all chummy with Mark Carney. He's definitely going to be his deputy pick. We've got the Foreign Interference Inquiry report coming out next week. We have a new report of Justin Trudeau's supposedly going to be stacking the Senate with Liberal senators before he leaves. Mark Carney gets grilled on the street by Rebel News, claims he has nothing to do with the WEF. More corruptions, more scandals, more polling numbers. Let's jump into this. So first off, we got this one. Canada's Foreign Interference Inquiry report lands on Tuesday. Inquiry was first established in September 2023 after a series of reports by Global News and Globe and Mail exposing alleged attempts of meddling by foreign actors like China. It also says down here, Russia in the 2019-2021 federal election. So this report will be coming out. Will this name the traitors? I don't think so. It's probably filled with mostly liberals, which is why they haven't released it. Otherwise, Trudeau would have just released it if it was filled with conservatives and then used that as a political wedge to gain support for the liberals. So that's why he hasn't released it. So it's got to be filled with liberals. I don't think there'll be any names in there, but there'll be other details that come out. We got polling data here, so we've been seeing some dirty polls. Here's what we're actually seeing. This is what's actually going on in Canada. You can see the small bump here after Trudeau resigned. Back when Trudeau resigned, I predict about a 5% bump. We got Carney and Freeland all eyeing that liberal leadership position, and that's what basically we got here, 4% bump for the liberals. You can see here, it's funny, Jagmeet actually lost support after Trudeau resigned, and the conservatives holding strong here at 45%. We got this one posted by Michael Barrett here. So it says, Trudeau plans on stacking the Senate before retiring. Government is preparing to fill all 10 vacant seats in the coming weeks. This is just dirty politics. With the guy already saying he's going to resign, he should be able to do stuff like this. The whole Senate, the whole way it works is just stupid. These people should be elected, not appointed, because then they sit in there for decades and decades. This whole system needs a redo. Canada is completely broken. Canada is 100% messed and compromised by the WF. Yeah, it is. Next up, this one from Blacklock's reporter. So it says 12 million was spent by GC Indigenous to find the purported 215 graves at residential schools, but instead spent on publicists and consultants with no graves found. Are we surprised? Trudeau just wasting more of our money. He's wasted so much of our country. This guy's done everything possible to just destroy this country. This photo opportunity and others were used to malign Canada and on the world stage. No graves were found, but Trudeau found a photo opportunity. Yep, the Indigenous used again by the Liberal Party. Got this one. Ontario pledges 1.4 billion to ensure family doctor access in 4 years. I believe this is coming from Doug Ford and the Conservatives in Ontario. Election there is next week. We got this one. It says breaking. Huang Chi-wan, a UN employee who's been living in Montreal since 2009, was arrested by the FBI and charged with running drones to terror lords in Libya. Mohamed Saya, another Montreal-based UN employee, wanted in connection to the case, has reportedly disappeared. That's right, so Canada has these terror lords in our country. And not only that, they're UN employees. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Justin Trudeau goes to the UN, has a job in the UN after his destruction here in Canada. It almost seems like the next perfect step for him. Canada has become a filthy petri dish for foreigners to practice their terror activities without any retribution. The Liberals are allowing it for votes. Next up, we got this video here. Mark Carney and Francois Philippe Champagne driving around. It's all in French, but basically, Mark Carney is using Champagne here to answer all the French questions.
Connais bien la région.
Regarde, on rentre dans la ville de Saint-Tite, puis regarde le chapeau.
L'occasion pour l'ancien gouvernement.
So this is Carney's way to get the Quebec vote. He's brought on Champagne. He's most definitely, I would say with certainty, that Champagne is going to be the deputy prime minister once Carney wins.
Mon cowboy, c'est évident, oui. Bye bye, mon cowboy. Bye bye, mon rodeo.
Mark believes we forgot that this individual is responsible for the battery investments that will financially burden the country. Carney's French is as good as Chandra's English. It requires subtitles. Carney has no idea what Quebecers want. After they arrive, we've got Rebel News on the scene heckling Mark Carney, and he answers one question, and it's that he's not a part of the WF.
Mr. Carney, Mr. Carney, sorry. Mr. Carney, why are you lying to Canadians saying that you are an outsider when you're the ultimate insider? Why are you lying to Canadians?
Je ne suis jamais une députée, madame. Alors,
you are the special advisor to Trudeau.
So he said he's never a member of parliament.
Pourquoi tu parles anglais
Why are you speaking English?
Because we are an English news outlet, and you know it. But why are you lying to Canadians saying that you're an outsider?
C'est bon ici.
When you return as a prime minister, are you going to cut ties with the World Economic Forum?
J'en ai pas.
I don't have any. Are you going to cut ties with the World Economic Forum? I don't have any. This guy was quite literally just 2 days ago at the World Economic Forum. What a liar.
J'en ai pas.
You have been invited multiple times. Mr. Carney, don't touch me. Mr. Carney, what are your thoughts on the fact that Chandra Arya was removed from the race?
C'est bon ça.
What do you think about that? Are you going to ask Alberta to stop selling oil to the United States to fight against the trade war? If you become the prime minister, are you going to do that?
We're going to win.
Mr. Carney, why you literally lied to Canadians saying that you're an outsider? Can you stop?
No.
Who are you?
I'm
Who are you? Who are you?
Je marche pour entrer.
No, you don't have to stop me.
Je marche
You don't
pour
have to
entrer.
stop me.
Je marche pour entrer.
What?
Yeah, okay. So Mark Carney apparently has nothing to do with the WF. What a joke. He's almost as despicable as Trudeau. I think he's right on that level. You just give him some time and he'll get to Trudeau's level. I don't know why Carney would just outright lie. I mean, here's a video from the World Economic Forum. There's Mark Carney.
Mark, you look like you were about to.
Yeah, it was a tell.
As a European, you know, as a
European, I am a
European.
European, actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh.
Irish citizen. Yeah. So there you
welcome.
go.
Welcome.
Speaking as a European, I like to say the following.
This guy wants to be the leader of Canada, but he's a European. He holds 3 passports. He has nothing to do with the World Economic Forum, no, not at all. Next up, this one from Ruby Dahl. It says, today I received a letter from the Liberal Party official confirming my eligibility to stand for leader of Canada. So they haven't thrown her out yet. Maybe they'll come back and say, oh, you're gaining too much support. We're going to have to throw you out. She is on social media now basically begging Chandra Arya supporters to support her now. The situation with Chandra Arya is interesting. As I first said, when this guy announced his leadership run, I pointed out he has connections with Modi, and was he paid off by Modi? So he might actually be one of the foreign interference targets, wittingly, unwittingly, who knows? Maybe he is one of the 11 traitors, whether he knows it or not. Did he get disqualified because he embarrassed the Liberals by saying French doesn't matter, insulting Quebec and the French vote? That's possible too. That's not democracy, but that's how this broken system works in Canada. So jumping over to CBC, they got Ruby Dahl on here, and it doesn't take more than like 2.5 minutes here before David Cochrane brings up some information to smear her and try to pump up Carney. CBC, Team Trudeau, they're all on Team Carney.
And as you mentioned and shared, over the last 10 years, I have done a lot of work, not only in the business sector, but through philanthropy and also doing a lot of international work.
Right. So you say you would be a fresh face, and that would certainly be true for this current generation of Liberals since the big comeback in 2015. But you're also a 3-term MP, as you said. And, you know, if people Google Ruby Dahl, some of the first things that come up to remind is, I'm resigning as critic to clear my name because you were accused of, you know, mistreating nannies and not paying them enough and using them to do work in your business beyond the scope of what they were hired for. So how do you explain that to the current generation of Liberals when they see these stories from the past?
They always dig up the dirt, except for on Mark Carney. No dirt dug up on him. Anonymous photos were leaked, put on a Facebook page of him hanging out with questionable characters on the beach there. It's never coming from CBC.
You know, to the current generation, you know, of Liberals and those, you know, that have been asking, I was the victim of a conservative drive-by smear campaign, and I'm not going to get into all of the details, but that smear campaign will not be tolerated. When I was first elected, I had the honor of being one of the first women of Indian origin elected as a member of Parliament, not only here in Canada, but the entire Western world.
Okay, well, I mean, you did step down as critic. There was a settlement in one of the cases, and you know, so you will have to address it presumably at a certain point should you win in greater detail. But you know, you're getting into this race very late. You know, not that you had a lot of time. Nobody did. But you've seen the endorsements and you've seen the show of strength from Mark Carney. You've seen the show of strength from Chrystia Freeland. How do you even begin to catch up against that kind of a lead at this point point in the calendar?
You know, that's a very good question.
What lead? Carney literally had his announcement speech event, and then he showed up at a bar where Nate Erskine-Smith got completely smashed. That's the big lead? What else has he done? He had one little video standing on the ice with Adam Van Couverden. He's done nothing. Same with Chrystia Freeland. She was just on breakfast television, and she did another, I think, CBC interview. Not to mention, Chrystia Freeland got completely heckled and humiliated by Palestinian protesters during her event. There's no big lead here.
And I'm actually focusing my entire race on members across this country.
Okay, so you're reaching out to grassroots and Liberals across the country, but you've got 4 days, I think, until the sign-up date. And caucus and their lists and their knowledge helps with that, right? And if you look at the organization, you need a national network to do it. I mean, do you have that?
Yes, I do. You know, before entering this...
David Cochran's so dismissive. He doesn't know anything about her, just dismissive. It's very interesting. They want to paint this picture that she's not prepared. Chandra Arya, no, he couldn't be prime minister. I mean, it's goofy if he was, but the fact that the Liberals get to choose who runs and who doesn't, what is that for democracy? That's ridiculous. And I don't care if it's their party rules. There should be one set of rules for all parties. And if someone is good enough to be a member of parliament, they're good enough to be the leader of the party. That's how it should be. Otherwise, we could say, what about Mary Simon? She can't speak French. Why is she the Governor General? The whole situation is absolutely messed up. The fact that Chandra Arya got banned means he was getting too much support. Probably a whole bunch of people from India who came to Canada, signed up as a Liberal to vote for him, and they're like, uh-oh, this guy might actually win. So much for democracy. The same thing is going to happen to her.
We do have a national team. We have national organization, and we have been working the phones nonstop.
Okay, so you're working the phones nonstop, but you were also in Washington, right, for the inauguration?
Yes, I was.
Okay,
yeah.
So you met with Marco Rubio, Mark Zuckerberg. I mean, how did that happen? And tell me about what you said to them about this.
He's like, how'd you get that meeting? What's going on here? It is a little bizarre why she would have those meetings, but...
Well, we have a Canada-U.S. business alliance, which consists of CEOs both from Canada and the U.S. And given the threats that are being posed on our country right now, all of us as CEOs got together and we went out to Washington for the inauguration. I believe that out of sight is out of mind, and going to the inaugural festivities and some of the events that they had, it was very important to meet these types of individuals, and meeting Senator Marco Rubio, who's now the Secretary of State, along with other foreign ministers. It was an opportunity to actually promote Canada on an international level. And you talked about Mark Zuckerberg, who's the founder of Facebook, and when I met him, I was briefing him on Canadian politics and letting him know that I would be entering the race. And he asked, which party are you from? And I said, the Liberal Party. And he kind of scratched his head and he said, what are you doing here at the Trump inauguration? And I said to him, I'm here to save Canada.
I have a feeling if they allow her into the debate, she's going to be pretty nasty with Carney. This is going to be interesting to watch. That is a big if they let her, because the rules allow them draconian decisions. Next up, we have the Taxpayer Federation here suing the CRA because the CRA are imposing taxes on Canadians that weren't voted into law. That's called breaking the law, CRA.
It's Parliament's job to approve tax increases. But the government failed to introduce the legislation, debate the legislation, pass the legislation, or proclaim the legislation into law. And with an election right around the corner, it likely never will. Yet unelected bureaucrats at the CRA are taking billions of dollars from Canadians with this undemocratic tax hike. To put it bluntly, this tax hike is a financial sucker punch to many Canadians who worked hard to invest in properties, create businesses, or save for their retirement. The capital gains tax hike will affect more than 1 million Canadians, half of whom earn less than $117,000 every year, according to a recent report from the C.D. Howe Institute. The capital gains tax hike will blow a $90 billion hole in Canada's economy. The capital gains tax hike will mean 400,000 fewer jobs. And that's why the Canadian Taxpayers Federation is launching this legal challenge.
It's official. The Canadian Taxpayers Federation has filed an application with federal court seeking judicial review of the CRA's enforcement of this undemocratic and illegal capital gains tax hike. We are bringing this case on behalf of Debbie Vorsteveld, a hardworking Canadian from Mapleton, Ontario. For 14 years, Debbie and her husband William owned a property that included 2 homes, one where they lived and the other that they rented to their adult children as they helped them save for homes of their own. Last year, with the children now moved out, the Vorstevelds sold that property. They were hoping to move forward onto the next chapter of their lives and inch closer to retirement. Instead, they are now facing an unexpected and unfair financial burden. This family will pay thousands in extra taxes because the CRA is choosing to impose this capital gains tax hike that was not authorized by Parliament.
Who's doing this at the CRA? This person just needs to be sued. They need to be removed from their position. We need to know who this is. Someone is making this decision. So whoever this person is, they need to be put in jail for their crimes against Canada.
This goal of this legal challenge is to set a precedent to not only help this family, but to protect all Canadians who will be directly burdened by the CRA and this bureaucratic overreach. Let me be clear. This tax hike is illegal. This tax hike violates Canada's Constitution. The CRA is enforcing this tax hike despite legislation never being introduced, debated, or passed by elected representatives in Parliament.
The whole situation is disgraceful that our government works against us. They're trying to steal from us. They break the laws to steal from us. Like, when will this madness end? Only in Canada would we have this. A Toronto jewelry store installs bars to increase the security. This is so ridiculous. Now, the problem with this is this increases security, no doubt. Does this create an atmosphere of wanting to shop and spend thousands of dollars on jewelry? No, it feels like you're in a jail. This is going to hurt business for them. Sure, it'll save them money from the crooks and gangs and the crime lords, but this will just drive sales down. People are not going to want to go in there and shop around because it just doesn't feel good in there. This is Trudeau's Canada, though. Everything gets ruined and destroyed. Sad how even the third world countries don't do this. Our laws are soft AF. Man, seeing this in Canada is disappointing. It's just day after day here in Canada where the Liberals just keep trucking along here. Instead of calling an election and actually doing what's right for the country, they keep just further breaking this country, driving us deeper into the ground. Will we be able to recover from this? Apparently Champagne thinks they're going to turn things around. It's going to be different this time. We're not buying that. We're not buying the fake polls. The Liberals are done.